Hi, my name is Bob Green. I'm the lead partner for the Singer Lewack Business Informatics Department. I'm joined today by Jeremy Lurie, PhD. Jeremy's on the other screen. We're both working from our remote offices here in late March. And we wanted to first thank you for tuning into this video, but also understand that we made this because as part of what our team does, we focus on change and leadership development, leadership coaching as part of our deliverables. And really, at this stage of what people are going through, moving workforces and things, we thought we'd address the concept of some of the things leaders can do or be attentive to as their employees are all moving to a remote work location, as so many of these companies are. So, Jeremy, thank you for joining us today as well.
Yeah, thank you.
You bet. So, really, people at all levels in a company are particularly fearful right now. I'm hearing about a lot of uncertainty. We're just not sure what's ahead for work, for the economy, for the country. And as I mentioned, so many people are working remotely now, literally moving entire companies, not just a few people, to fully remote work sites, both because of ordinances as well as because of voluntary distancing. So I have a couple questions for you. I think we're going to go through these together. First one really is kind of high level. How do we motivate as leaders? How can we make sure we motivate our employees to stay engaged at a time like this when there's so many distractions about what's happening in the world and whatnot? We've got work to be done, and certainly the economy hasn't really stopped per se, although it certainly feels like it can at sometimes. How do we keep them from losing focus when they're working from home?
Yeah, it's a really good question. The first thing that people do is they start assessing who's capable of working remotely, and are you issued a firm laptop? If not, my niece is now working in my office with me. She picked up her entire desktop and she does marketing graphics work. So it's a big monitor that she took out of her corporate office and brought to our workspace. And so, a lot of that's been going on, and that's the easy focus. But it's not about the technology, it's about the psychology, right? We're people. There's a lot going on in this world, whether we have children who are now home from school, we watch the stock market crash on a regular basis. We're waiting for a presidential address to tell us that things will be fine. People are distracted. So first and foremost, just recognize people are having emotional reactions to this. We all have our feelings about the uncertainty and the fear that's going on out there. So as the individual, and I would say as virtual leaders trying to help support our employees, it's really important to reduce your screen time. Right? Sitting on Facebook 24/7 is not going to give you more reliable information about what's happening. I can watch CNN for a few minutes at a time and get some good updates, but I don't have to watch, the scrolling articles all day long. So really try to manage those distractions into a few minutes of a break. No different than you'd get a glass of water, in between conference calls, or you'd use the restroom and get up and stretch. Let that information come a couple of times a day. Beyond that with focus, I think one of the real challenges is that we do have children at home from school. We no longer have, I'm leaving my office to go meet you for lunch. It's, everything is now at my desk and gone virtual with tools like this, Microsoft Teams or Zoom or what have you. So it's important for people to recognize that they need to set some boundaries, right? I can't work 24/7 in this environment, but I also might not work a regular 9-to-5 job. I might need to work from 6 a.m. until 8 a.m. until my children are up, take an hour off and give them breakfast, work from 9 a.m. until 12:30 and set those kinds of boundaries, and then go check in on my kids and how are their home studies going.
So maybe I have a question on that.
Working, just real quick, I mean, maybe if I'm going to stop working at 4:30, enjoy the sunshine outdoors, get my walk in that I'm allowed to do, and I'm going to come back to work after dinner. But again, it's really about what are those expectations for our teams and how are we going to work together in this new environment?
Exactly. And I think that as leaders, I mean, are you suggesting that that a corporate executive or a team leader should be able to tell his people, hey, it doesn't mean you have to be, using your example, at your desk from this hour to this hour? I'm assuming there's some conversation we should have about results expected as well. But I would think that there's a way to build expectations just about how much you expect them to necessarily focus at any point in time and allow them some flexibility. Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. One of the traps, Bob, is that you go remote. You're no longer in the office next door to me where I could just get up from my desk and walk over and say, hey, do you have a second? You say, sure. So now I call you on your mobile phone, or maybe you've got firm issued voice over IP technology, and fine. but you don't answer. So as a leader, I immediately assume, well, you're just walking the dogs at the beach, or you're just surfing the internet looking for news. The reality is, even in the office, you likely get up and go use the restroom. You like to go grab a cup of coffee. And so it's important to schedule regular check-ins if we want to talk with people and connect with them. And it's really important that we set expectations on what are today's tasks that we have to complete, what are this week's objectives that we're working on together, because it's no longer about punching clocks and catching people in that moment that you want to talk with them. It's about creating a little bit more structure and discipline in this virtual world.
So thank you for that. I know there's no magic to leadership, and every business has its own culture, but I appreciate those points. I know we've got to deal with our own teams as well. So I want to shift a little bit to something, because I know this is not particularly a long video today, but the concept of working in tight spaces. I mean, you and I are in a room. I mean, we're both working virtual. We're both in our own home offices. That's fine. We actually have, a couple feet on either side for sure. The thought is, though, plenty of people don't. And I think employers have to appreciate that there may be people that are having a challenge and maybe sharing a workspace, I think, with a number of people in their family who probably all haven't had worked together before, and they're working on different companies, employment matters. Any thoughts there? I mean, there's confidentiality involved. There's all kinds of other issues, personal space. Help us out there.
So a few different things with this one, and I'll go back to the first part about, children are home from school. There are other distractions going on. So it's important to figure out what the primary workspace is going to be, because if you're putting your laptop on the kitchen table and your kids are coloring in that same space, that's a different situation. And we've got two people who are mature grown-ups working in the home office and sharing desk space and sitting on opposite sides of the desk. So, one key thing is to figure out who has the priority time in that moment. If I have a video conference going on, then, I said my niece is working with me now. She may leave the room because we have Wi-Fi and she has a laptop and she can go sit at the kitchen table, or vice versa. It could be that, my partner has a really important conference call. And so I know that I need to be quiet and not take a call at that same time. So it's managing the space that way. Part of it is, I might like music that you don't like. And so that's what headphones are for. Right. I'm used to blasting music in my own home office when I'm alone, but I may not do that anymore if we're sharing space with other people. So part of it is just sort of figuring out who else is in your space, figuring out what those key tasks are. Can it be headphone, heads down kind of work? Does it have to be voice to voice, or even on screen, sort of video to video? Because those might need to become more of a priority rather than in my space. This is usually my home office. Wife, partner of mine who's been kicked out of your corporate office. And no, how do we share the space together, recognizing that this can be new for all of us?
Yeah, it's important. I think that, maybe let's drill in for a second on that. I mean, what can some of the kind of business executive do to coach his people as to how to handle some of that? I mean, you've given some tips, and I mean, are these things you recommend people share in some sort of a communication sooner than later, I assume, and help people understand that the executives understand what's going on and they're empathetic to it, or what do you recommend?
Absolutely. And I've been advising my CEO clients the last couple of days now through multiple group calls, through an industry group I'm part of, through some one-on-ones with CEOs that I coach. Communication 101 tells us what you don't share, your employees are going to fill in the blanks. They're going to make up their own stories, good or bad, right or wrong. So absolutely, I would advocate for any business leader to get out in front of us, share what decisions are being made, potentially even share what decisions are being considered before they're made. But there are a lot of different ways to do that. I know you and I both work with people who are afraid if I open up the town hall video chat or
that was where I was going. Yep.
It's gonna go bonkers with people, on their tirades of what's happening and the toilet paper in the stores, and so there's a way to control the information flow. Obviously, most organizations, email is the most prevalent form of communication. You can email out some key highlights from times. You may want to do a video, and you can self-record videos just like this. We're using Microsoft Teams. You could have a Zoom account, anything else. Post that to your portal. A message from the CEO on a couple of key highlights and what we're focusing on today or this week. But if you are going to do those group calls, which I do encourage, by the way, you may want to request questions in advance. You may want to do more of a one-way delivery, and at the end of that, say, please email, fill in the blank of the alias. It's questions@singularleadwac.com or coronavirus@acmecompany.com. People may need to set up central points of communication for that information flow. But ultimately, I would use a lot of different tools here, including the town hall, including the email, including the videos on the portals. I'll offer just one more point. You and I both have clients who have more than one location, right? Our firm has multiple locations throughout a couple of different states now, not even just here in Southern California. And so the clients that I'm talking to, the CEOs, are talking about that roadshow concept that previous to this, they would have gone to a facility a month and check in, or quarterly town hall. No, we are all going to be moving into much more of a confined, shelter in place environment moving forward. So all the CEOs I'm talking to are using video for the other facilities, or they're having their general manager or business unit president in other locations give those remarks. No one is leaving their main office at this point. You and I work out of a Woodland Hills office. If we were going to go there, that's where we would go. We would not go to an Orange County office, a San Jose office. Like, people are staying in their one sites and delivering the rest of these communications virtually.
Well, thank you, Jeremy. I know time is tight right now for everybody, and we appreciate those of you who tuned in to take a look at the video. Just know that here at Singer Lewak, we're as empathetic and concerned about things as you are, and appreciate the circumstances that you are as clients and colleagues and contacts of the firm. Both Jeremy Lurie and myself, I'm Bob Green. We appreciate you tuning in today. If you have any questions for a follow-up, or you'd like to connect with us about some more advice like this, absolutely feel free. Our best way to reach us, to make it easy, we're using Teams right now. We haven't set up a fancy video call us or what have you set screen. So just email it at change, just the word change, at singerlewak.com. We look forward to hearing from you, and frankly, just more importantly, just wish you the best of luck as we go through these next several weeks, all of us together, and looking forward to seeing you soon. Thanks, Jeremy.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Bye-bye.